Oh boy, it has been a while since I have spoken about this game, but something happened today that made it so that I actually kind of did want to talk about it, because if you haven't seen, DML actually has a brand new merchandise item that has been released, and I said this was the only thing that would ever potentially bring me back to talk about this game again, and even Dragon City has recently put out what I think is a really, really important survey that both of these Dragon games combined would have benefited from about, I don't know, 5, 6, maybe even 7 years ago. But the first part of this video, I do want to talk about the DML section. We'll move on to the Dragon City. So, if you're not aware of how much I played this game, DML Dragon Mania Legends, I played this game for just under 8 years before I eventually ended up rage quitting and destroying my account on a live stream. But as of today, as you can see here, they have released this video, which is about the Lava Dragon figurine. So, something that Dragon City, its competitor, does not have is a lot of merchandise, and I think it's something that they are missing out on a lot. So, like in this little video here, they posted a little teaser and then revealed that there was this new figurine pre-order available, and it looks like they're doing this for their lovely little Lava Dragon, which is one of the basic dragons. It's not one of the first stage dragons, but it is one of the first few that you'll end up breeding in the game, and he's got a nice little design to him as well. And if it looks anything like this little figurine design here, I would 100% be very keen to own this. And I actually knew that this was being released quite a long time ago, in fact, because I was contacted by Gameloft. I'm not going to say who or when exactly or exactly about what, but they did inform me about this in advance, and I even said back then I was excited for this. I don't know why some of these Dragon games don't try and invest more into this thing, but in the link down below in here, it will take you to the dml.gimmeswag.com website, and here it says here, DML figurines, calling all trainers, get ready to take your Dragon Mania Legends adventure to the next level. Be the first to know about electrifying new releases inspired by your favorite dragons. Dive into the magic and excitement. And there's this little button that appears here where the thanks button is, and if you click that, then you can enter your email and sign up for the pre-order. You'll get it for a little bit cheaper when it gets released. So it's not actually here as of yet, but it's probably going to look like this. I imagine this is their tester. And honestly, if we can just, even if the game dies, if the actual dragons get to stay alive via, you know, merchandising, figurining, I would 100% be in support of this. And if you didn't know, this isn't actually the first bit of merchandising that they've done. I actually uploaded this video all the way back in, what, 2017 about their Water Dragon plushie, and I regret to this day not purchasing this because I always intended to, and then I just never did in the end. But you can actually see this here. It's on the Gameloft page. Well, this one's for the Singapore one anyway. I don't live in Singapore, that's not my address. But you'll see that they did have this Water Dragon plushie, and the reason I didn't buy this originally wasn't because I didn't like it, it's because I wanted them to release something that wasn't the Water Dragon, because it's literally just a single element common. Now, I was hoping that we would get something more exciting, but that I don't think that ever materialized in the end. Maybe they just didn't get enough sales on this one, but I mean, you're not going to get as many sales on like a basic dragon. I mean, he's cute, don't get me wrong. And they did take all these pictures with one of the Gameloft guys with this little dragon here. So, you know, this sort of thing is the thing that I would absolutely love. You know, Pokemon does this. We've got other game series that do this. Maybe these games just don't have quite enough audience that's willing to pay out for the merchandise, but genuinely, I think there's a lot of potential there. DML did have shirts as well, and Dragon City did at one point, but I believe that they were only for Americans, which is like the weirdest thing ever. But, you know, just coming back to this actual post about the figurines, I did make a post earlier about it, but when they asked me, you know, what sort of dragons would I actually like to see in figurine form, well, if you've never seen some of these dragons, this is the Lava Dragon in-game, and yeah, he's a nice little cutie, you know, he's a very familiar dragon to anyone that's played the game. The animations of DML dragons are not quite up to par for what they are in Dragon City, which is a big problem that DML always had. Everything was under-animated, it was just sort of like JPEGs awkwardly moving around with the same body type. DML doesn't have a lot that goes into the actual dragon designs to make them feel alive like DC does. But at the same time, you know, we've got cool looking dragons like Loki, who is one of the divines. I know that they changed the elemental system at some point recently, which I don't even want to get into that today. It's a whole mess. And again, even though I'm talking about this, and you know, I would love a figurine of Loki, I would die, not literally die, but I would die for a figurine of Citrine. I absolutely adore Citrine in every one of his forms. Like, this is little baby Citrine. He just looks unbothered by everything. And adult form is just Yoshi. It is literally just Yoshi Dragon in like yellow color. So I absolutely would have adored a Citrine. Familiar was also a nice little dragon, although I hated the event it was released in. We've got Pooh Emoji, who I love to this day, and we actually have a blue version of it because, you know, we mix together this dragon with blue, and then you get a mix between Handsome Pooh and Pooh Emoji from DML. And then, of course, we've got our God ceremony. Still to this day, this is my one true Lord and Savior. I would always buy merchandise if it was in the form of your boy Ceremony, always. Halcyon was one of my favorites back when he was released as well. We got the little baby form and then the adult form. I don't know, he's quite cute. He looks very similar to a dragon in Dragon City that I've forgotten the name of, but maybe you'll guess which one I'm talking about. And then we do have like the big fatties that were released, which were, you know, the dinosaur dragons in DML, because they never really had a set thing like primal in that game. But then we had these, and they were very, very large. And then, of course, there's Little Chick as well, which back in the day, they used to use Little Chick for a lot of the, you know, promotion stuff that I used to do with them. So I'd always love anything Little Chick, anything at all. They're just some of the dragons. Imagine this in a little figurine form. Wouldn't that be cute? It would be so good for Easter. They could use it for like their Easter sales or whatever. But, you know, this is what I'm talking about. You know, between DML, which is a game I would never pick up again. And actually, I did ask people on Instagram how the game was going, and people tell me to this day it was a good idea that I left, which I feel really bad because, again, there are so many cool dragons that existed in that game. And still to this day, I will look at the DML wiki and I'll look at the new dragons that get released, but the game is just not there. Like, look at this new one here, this Globetrotter dragon. I've never seen this before in my life, but look, like, it looks kind of cool, don't you think? Bit of a convoluted design, but cool idea nonetheless. And this game had some very good design and some very questionable ones, just like how Dragon City does. But, you know, I'd love for all of these to have their own merchandising line. Between this and Dragon City, you know, there are so many dragons that have, like, really whatever designs. Like, what is this, pool party? What a goofy dragon. And then we've got some of our new releases, and then we've got lovely, lovely haunted dragons. Like, imagine if we could get... I alone would probably pay enough for Haunted Hottie merchandise, just because he's, like, my favourite. But, you know, it's up to them, and obviously they've got all the stats for what's going to make money, what's not going to make money. But moving on from that, like I mentioned, the other thing that I really wanted to talk about today was the survey, which I'm going to have to make sure that that's blocked out when I do this. But when you go in-game, there is a news section, and if you scroll down, you'll actually see this that says, "We need you." And then if you click this in the middle, it'll let you do the survey for Dragon City. And this is something, or some of the concepts in this are something that I genuinely think would have benefited this game a long time ago. And it also has a lot of things mentioned that Mania Legends players were looking at or were asking for a very long time ago. So if you do this survey, I'm just going to show you what's in this survey, but go in game and click it. It'll ask what your age is, so I'm going to mark mine. What gender am I? I am female, or an Indian male, depending on my mood. And so it says, "We value your passion for Dragon City and would love your input on shaping the future of the game. We have 3 exciting visions for DCM. We'd like to hear your thoughts on them." So essentially, they give you 3 sets of visions or ideas for the game, and then you've got to mark which one is your favorite. And if we click continue, we've got build your ultimate Dragon City. And so imagine creating your very own stunning Dragon City filled with beautiful buildings and decorations. So you can read all of this bit by bit, but essentially the idea behind this one is a city builder. So a focus on city building aspects, kind of like SimCity or the old Gameloft game. If you remember which one I'm thinking of, I can't remember the name now. But essentially the point is to get a big city, so not necessarily focusing on the collecting and not necessarily focusing on the battling, but on building a big city. And so how do you find this vision? It's fine, but it's not particularly interesting. And then they'll get you to, you know, rate what is the good part and which one's the bad part of it. So I like the fact that I'd be able to use my dragons to build a city, you know, and then if you like to visit your friends' cities, you could help them build their city. Okay, that sounds cool. And then when you say, what don't you like very much? I don't like the idea of needing decorations. Like, who cares about decorations, right? And the second one, this is the interesting one. This one says, in this vision, your goal is to become the best dragon trainer in the universe. Engage in exciting new 6-on-6 battles against other players. This is basically Overwatch, Dragon City. And then take part in epic alliance versus alliance wars. The top players and alliances will earn extremely rare and powerful dragons, including the ultimate dragon gods, whatever that is. But then it says battles will be more strategic than ever. You'll choose dragons for your team based on their roles. So then we're going to have defenders, attackers, supporters. So basically they want to turn it into a more skill-based, turn-based focused game with 6-on-6, which would be very intense. But the main part about this, which is the thing that even DML players were asking for years ago, is PvP. So not PvE, PvP. The only problem that I have with this is they did try this with Monster Legends, and it was pay-to-win mess fest. So as good as this sounds in theory, I don't know if I trust their methods of implementing it, if they ever do, because they've kind of done that and not done a very good job of it before. You know, if I was going to play a PvP experience, I'd want it to be like, you know, completely cosmetic, paid only, nothing pay to win. And obviously that doesn't really suit them for a mobile game, typically. But that's the only problem I have with that. I like the concept of player versus player. It would force them to fix the many bugs in the game if they wanted it to be playable. But I just don't trust it, not with the current state of the game. Anyway. And then, you know, I do like that vision. And then I like that it'll have to be a skill-based thing and that you'd have to consider roles for dragons. That's fantastic. But I wouldn't like the fact that it is, you know, you'd only have to focus on the battling side and not the collecting side. Then vision number 3 is the final one out of this list, which is your main goal is to collect all the dragons in Dragon City. So by complete collections, you'll unlock new breeds and exciting tournaments. You'll enjoy a variety of fun minigames like matching puzzles and obstacle courses. I don't really care about that. But then you'll also be able to build special resource generating buildings on dedicated islands and use these to breed new and unique dragons. So while there's less focus on decorating your city, you'll have plenty of ways to manage resources, and then you can team up with friends and alliances to compete and win new dragons. This one is my favorite, and that is simply because I am a collector. I have been in every single video game I've ever played, pretty much. I will always go for collecting, and then competitiveness also in there, and then any other extra stuff is kind of whatever. But the collecting for collecting games for me will always come first. That is where my heart would sit. Then I could rate that as like a 5, and then I like the focus on collecting all the dragons. The minigames can suck my... let's not finish that. But I like the idea of being able to unlock new breeds by complete collections and stuff like that. And I like the fact that I can still battle to gain resources. That is fine. Still keeping that in there. But it's... I don't really know what else isn't good about it. I don't like the idea of minigames. That is true. So then it says, let's summarize, and it goes through all 3 of them. Which one do you think is the best? So the city building, the ultimate dragon master battling, or the collecting. So for me, it would be vision number 3. Then you've got to vote for the worst. I'm not actually going to submit this because I've already submitted this before, but this just gives you an idea of what the survey is about. And I don't want my votes or anything I say to influence you. I'm just wanting to go through what the benefits are, what some of the downsides are. The Ultimate Dragon City, I think, is a good concept if it was a city builder and not anything like the current game that we have. The Ultimate Dragon Master PvP, like I said, I think is an amazing concept, only if it is actually managed properly. And the collecting, I think, is the easiest one to do, and it is the heart of Dragon City, because, you know, fundamentally, this game has 2,000 dragons in it. It always had a hell of a lot more dragons than DML ever did, and they re-released these dragons. Even the paid YouTuber dragons, like at the moment, they're on sale for 250 gems, 100 gems. So even the, air quotes, pay-to-win ones, they end up either re-releasing in a free way, or you can always trade for them. So you always have the option of trading in this game. I don't think trading should ever be removed, even though people, you know, screw up the trading by putting in trade ratios and stuff like that and trying to screw with everyone. But seeing all of these hundreds and hundreds of extra orbs for random dragons, that pleases my soul. You know, the PvP aspect, I'm at the point in this game now where I can clear anything that I want in Arena if I want to. It's not a big concern of mine, and as you can see, I don't hard grind it all the time because I don't find it to be that interesting. I do all the Arena stuff when I'm trying to do collections and stuff like that. So, you know, for like the Halloween showdown or anything else, I will do it for that, or trying to get Joker orbs. But fundamentally, the thing that I care about is getting new dragons, and we are closing in on getting a big chunk of these dragons finished. I also have tons of dragons that I just need to hatch, or that just need to be summoned. I think I've got like 100 and something dragons that will be completed if I just summon them. But obviously it takes time to summon them, so actually we're probably close to 1,700 or 1,750 that we've already obtained. So we're probably missing about 300 overall. And, you know, once I'm at the end of this collecting, well, that's the end of Dragon City for me. DML, the problem was that there was pay-to-win stuff and there was no trading, so there was no way to actually obtain those dragons. And things that weren't released, they would take 3, 4, 5+ years to re-release. We had the whole Apollo situation for anyone that was around for that. So, yeah, Dragon City has a lot of pay-to-win offers, but there's always the option of being able to trade. And if you are a collector, you save up all of the stuff that you get, and then you don't even have to ever go into this offers bit. That's one of the big benefits of this game, and it's what will always be better than DML while it stays in the current state that it is. But, you know, Dragon City recently has had a lot of problems. Thank goodness gracious me that they fixed this collection, because, you know, this was a collection I really, really wanted to finish and get this skill skin for, and they screwed up the timer on it, and now they fixed it, which a lot of players didn't think they would. So there is a little bit of my hope and faith restored in Dragon City, but I've complained a lot about this game recently for good reason, and when DML was out, I complained about that game for good reason. They're not the only games that I play. I play tons of different games and collecting games, and that's where my criticism comes from. But that doesn't mean that I hate everything about these games, because if I did, when I see a video like this, I would have absolutely no interest. But, you know, I think fundamentally collecting things, loving new designs, probably did come from my love of Pokemon and stuff like that, but, you know, no matter how much I hate the direction that the developers take these games into sometimes, that doesn't mean that I would hate things around the whole community or the whole release. So that's just to clarify, you know, I've got tons of history in DML. 8 years is a long time. I was playing since the first week of that game releasing. So I remember a lot about the game. I was there since day one. I was documenting everything from the first day of me being there pretty much. So yeah, my move over to DC was with that in mind, and both of the games are similar, obviously. They released not too far apart from each other. Dragon City did release first, and then DML came after. But I wish that if the two games just came together and slapped their heads and their souls together, you know, some of the things, the good things from each, we could actually have a really decent product, I think. But hey ho, Spaghetti, I won't rant or ramble for too much longer. I'm looking forward to seeing what merch they've got, and I will not miss out on purchasing it this time. Again, if we ever get a re-release of any of the plushies or actual plushies for DML Dragons or even Dragon City Dragons, I would probably end up buying them straight away. So if they want my money, I'm completely free to play in Dragon City, but the merch, no, I will buy the merch. So, I mean, if they want my money, that's the only way they're getting it from me. But anyway, for now, I guess that is a little bit of my dip into both of these games. I don't think there's any reason to hate both of them, either of them, fundamentally, because I love them for different reasons, and I will never forget some of these these old boys like a wonderful god ceremony. Of course, never, ever forget.